Welcome into the roundtable. I'm Brad Wakai. That is Tyson Gentry. Interesting one here today, Tyson. We're going to talk about the eliminated teams in the NFL, kind of like a little roundtable discussion, no pun intended, just about kind of the different things going on with these teams eliminated. We will do our playoff preview next. So an early look ahead, games that are like must watch, we're going to rank those and whatnot. But this one's just more so talking about kind of what's going on with these teams who didn't make the playoffs. Were they any news that have happened, any coaching changes, anything in particular? So a lot to discuss here, man. I'm excited to get in it with you.
This is going to be an all-time smoke signal season for the NFL leading up to April. It's already started, right? Ryan Poles says, I'd have to be blown out of the water, but I could see us taking a quarterback. And then Indianapolis probably sees that, and then Irsay tells everybody there they got to trade the whole house for one. I mean, it's going to be something wild is going to happen. DeAndre Hopkins needs a new home. Who the hell is playing quarterback for the Raiders? There's a lot of stuff.
Absolutely, and you mentioned off the top the first overall discussion on week 18 and after, right? Like, what are the Texans doing? They had the first overall pick in their hand, they just blew it. Like, well, guys, they're professionals on that team, and they don't really give a shit if they're picking number one. Like, they came to play to win the game, and Lovie Smith with a nice little fuck you on his way out of town. So, yeah, like, here's the thing, and I love it. Like, everybody, like, oh, you got to be tanking. You got to tank better than this. The players don't want to tank. Like, they don't want to lose games. Like, these guys are ultra competitive, and it's like, well, the organization should have done better. What? Like, you have to field a roster, like maybe just forfeit, but I don't know,
dude,
man.
They couldn't get worse players. Like, check the 53. Right. Like, they bottom of the barrel. Yeah, I think the biggest mistake the Texans made was, it's not confirmed, but I have to imagine they told Lovie Smith this was his last game coaching the team, and they just didn't seem to realize that they were playing the fucking Jeff Saturday Colts. Like, that Texans team, it was better than the Colts. Like, that was all we were saying in week 18. We're like, I'm pretty sure they're going to try to lose, but none of these guys are wired, so this is a live dog here. And then they told him, and then the Colts did Colts stuff. Like, they looked like trash for half, and then for that third quarter, that's what they're selling their fans on. It's like, we make the playoffs. You see how good we closed that game? Till the end. Davis Mills, 4th and 20. That dude just played himself into a backup quarterback job for life, probably in Houston, which is good for him. But, like, right now it doesn't feel like a big deal. But if they get a new general manager in there and Houston trades up from 2-1, it's an all-time blunder.
Oh God! If they trade up from 2-1, that's insane. Like, you have to just sit this one out.
You have to.
Like, okay, we'll just take whoever the Stroud or Young. Like, if somebody's going to trade up for a quarterback, you just take the leftovers at that point. Like, you can't trade assets, especially with this big of a rebuild. Like, that just makes zero sense.
It doesn't. There's no way to do. I mean, it's like, hey, you guys want Nico Collins in a 5th, and the Bears are going to laugh at you. Like, that's what you can offer. It's not going to get it done. I just, like, we said it last week that the Bears were probably going to find their way, or the Texans or whoever it was. Whoever ends up 2, people are going to say, oh, it's fine. Now you don't have to make the choice. And it's like, go look at the track records of 1 versus 2.
Right.
And you want the 1.
Yeah, and so let's talk about it then with the Bears. Like, they have the number 1 pick. Like you said off the top 2 with Ryan Poles, the general manager for the Bears. They have Justin Fields. Everybody says, that's kind of the guy, it's the future. I still have question marks about him, clearly, if you've listened to this podcast. But listen, he's on a rookie contract. I think what the Bears should do is trade this pick for a quarterback-needy team. Is that the Colts? Is that anybody else down? Where is it the Seahawks? Like, do they trade and go up and get somebody and be aggressive? Even though they made the playoffs, they have that Broncos pick. Do the Cardinals want to do that? They have Kyler Murray. I don't think so. The Raiders, like, is that something? How aggressive do they want to be? Like, all these options now that the Bears have. Or, Tyson, do they take the best player available, whether it's Javon Carter or Will Anderson? They have a ton of options here. I think Brian Poles did a good job this season, and he's in the driver's seat here.
Well, one thing I think that's really important that not a lot of people are talking about as far as this Bears thing is they have to stay in range to get Jalen Carter. Matt Eberflus said before the season that his defense runs through the 3 technique. It just so happens there's the best one coming into the draft in quite a while. And you have a position to take him. And so you have to imagine 1 and 2 are probably going to end up being quarterback. Not that they're the best players, because they're not, but that's just how these things shake out. So you're sitting 3-4. and not a whole lot of traction to move back to 3, obviously. And if you move back to 4, that might cost you. But I think any trade discussion with the Indianapolis Colts and the Bears has to start with, hey, we need a wide receiver. Like, what is it? What's it going to cost from you guys? Like, we'll move back to 4, but like we're kicking the tires on Pittman. What I want to see, not that they get rid of Alec Pierce, but there's like Paris Campbell, guys like that, and they sound like shit out loud. Paris Campbell would be the best receiver in Chicago. I know Darnell Mooney missed the whole year. They're the same player. It's just one was by himself, and the other one missed the entirety of pretty much his first 3-4 years in the NFL. Like Chase Claypool, Cole Kmet, these guys suck. Like this is not a good pass catching unit. I mean,
fine.
he's a good football player. He's not a great pass catcher. Like they tried it year 1, force feeding him targets, didn't really lead to much. Year 2, kind of the same deal. He just looks like a guy that's going to play football at a high level for 10 years, but he's not really going to be the reason. Like Cole Kmet's not making any Pro Bowls, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Or he's not going to make all pro teams. He's going to be a good player, and that's fine. But if you have a quarterback that struggles mightily to throw the ball down the field, like Justin Fields does, struggles mightily to throw the ball to the middle of the field, to the corners, to the sidelines, all the big throws that you need him to make, I might be fucking nuts, dude. But if I'm Chicago, like, it's not just a smokescreen. I want to see, like, if Bryce Young's going to come in really little, and we'll get into it later, but he's going to put on a bunch of water weight for the combine. He's going to weigh in over 200 pounds. People aren't going to care. And then he's not going to run. And so it's going to be like, well, he's fast. We're not going to know how fast, because 4.5 is kind of that number when you're under 6 feet, 4.5, 6, somewhere like that, where like you're comfortable unless it's Drew Brees. But Drew Brees got kicked. He got passed around the league, right? He was a joy to the college party. It was like we don't want anything to do with this guy. If one of these two quarterbacks rips up their pro day, I mean, I know Fields looked awesome to close the year, and awesome for Justin Fields is way different than awesome for Trevor Lawrence. And that was clear to end the year. And I just personally think that this is a huge offseason for the Bears. And if they want to restart the whole thing, now is the only time you have.
Exactly. Like you have Justin Fields on a rookie contract. That's a very, very valuable asset. Like he showed that he can be special as an athlete. Like you said, there's still questions at quarterback. And if I'm Chicago, I'm looking at CJ Stroud, man. He played at Ohio State. He played in the cold weather in the Big Ten. And he's a much more accurate passer than what you currently have in Justin Fields. Like he's more, I think, ready to be an NFL quarterback right now than Justin Fields, who's growing into that. Like he's a freak athlete. But like what we've seen with Lamar, like what we've seen with Kyler Murray, these guys, man, if you're not accurate, it's really hard to win at a high level in this league.
And he's on a different level than these two. Like he's a way worse thrower of the football than Lamar or Kyler. He's way worse, comparable to like Lamar sophomore year of college throwing the football.
It's like he went 9 for 21 for 75 yards in his last start. Like that's
but he ran for so many, Brad.
I know.
We got to talk about how fast this guy is, man.
It's shocking to me that there are like legitimate people saying like this guy's awesome. Like if this is anybody else doing it, like if this is Taysom, like we hate Taysom Hill. Like he's Taysom Hill. Like it's crazy. Like I don't understand that. So I'm saying, and we'll move off Chicago here because we'll have a ton of offseason stuff. But I mean, there's a ton of options. I think they need to take a good hard look at the quarterback position here. I would not be shocked if we're hearing legit rumors that Justin Fields is on the block and they're going to take a quarterback here.
They've got the most money too to spend this offseason, and if that's not all offensive line contracts, they're doing a disservice if they're going to keep them around.
Absolutely. Now, as far as the Houston Texans, like we mentioned them a bit. I mean, just a quick coaching search update. They found D'Amico Ryans is a hot name, the defensive coordinator for the 49ers. He played at Houston, was an all-pro in Houston. Like he's got a lot of juice there. I think this would excite the fan base. Before Jack Easterby was gone, there were rumors that Josh Allen was going to be the head coach. And then Shane Steichen, the offensive coordinator for the Eagles. I think that would be a good hire if you want to go young and offensive minded. But again, the problem is with these young offensive minds, you don't know if they can be head coaches in the NFL. Like you have to lead men. Like you could be a genius drawing up stuff on the whiteboard. Like that's great, but you have to stand in front of a locker room and command the attention and lead men into battle. And you just don't really know if that's the case just because you're calling great offensive plays in a headset.
Well,
I think the Texans should look really hard at DeMeco Ryans. Honestly,
I think he's got to be the one. But this is like the thing every offseason is like you talk yourselves into these. Like, look at the schemes that this guy draws up, or look at the numbers of the unit that he's coaching on his side of the ball. It's crazy. And then they suck because it's a completely different job. It has nothing like one has almost they have as much to do with each other as like, going to school and being a professor. Like they're different. You can be the smartest kid in your class, but it's harder to teach. And that was a weird analogy. I don't know why. Maybe it was my college background there. But like Jonathan Gannon to me, he's a hot name right now. I don't think he'd be a very good head coach. I think DeMeco Ryans has the juice. But again, like, look at the talent of the unit that he's coaching right now in San Francisco. He's got blue chippers everywhere. That's a little bit harder to judge. I am confident in saying this, that whoever Houston chooses will be the worst head coaching hire of the cycle because they make bad hires. And then they fire them a year later, and then they do this again. So this is the first time in a minute that they're not looking for a tank commander. Maybe that's different. Maybe it's a different approach.
I think that could be.
But the last time they weren't looking for a take commander was the guy that led them to this era, Bill O'Brien. And so it's a balancing act in what they have to do. And I just get a new general manager every offseason, get a new coach every offseason. It starts in the owner's box, man, and nothing's changing.
Facts. I think, with Nick Caserio there coming from the New England Patriots, you hope that stability, right? Like you hope bringing him in is a professionalism that Houston Texans have not had in that organization for a long time. That's your hope. And again, like you said, you don't have any faith in that. They haven't done anything to show us that, hey, we should all have faith in what Nick Caserio is doing in Houston because it's Nick Caserio. Like, what's he done? Bill Belichick is the greatest coach of all time. He made chicken salad out of chicken shit a lot of the times over there in New England. And when you don't have that head coach here, what's Nick Caserio going to be able to do? He's got to go out and get a good head coach. Like, who is that? You're saying this could be the worst one. Now, DeMeco Ryans could be a great coach. He could not. Like, he's coaching potentially the best defense in the NFL right now. They don't have that in Houston. So, like you said, man, there are tons of question marks surrounding the Houston Texans, and that's going to be a hot topic that you and I are going to discuss for a long time, I think, especially in this offseason and leading up to the start of next season, just because it's the Houston Texans. Like, they always make questionable decisions, like you said.
It's going to get beat to death, too, because there's not as many openings as in years past. So it's like we're going to be overanalyzing, over-scrutinizing whoever goes to Arizona, whoever goes here, because there's not a lot of jobs. Normally, like you got 6 new guys, and then we fire off on our Urban Meyer takes or whatever, and we forget about the Nick Siriannis of the world because they're boring, and we don't care. But these are the 2 that we have in front of us, basically, and they're going to it's the same thing with draft picks, man. It's just important to remember that these organizations are where they're at for a reason. You can't expect somebody that's never even fucking been there during this era to step foot in the door day one. Like what Brian Daboll did, it's unreal. You're not even walking into a similar situation to what he did, right? Like this is like ground zero here.
Whew. Yeah, it's not. And another thing now, another franchise. Zero of their own here. I don't agree here, but the Cardinals, there are no. Has a torn ACL. Like he's not going to be able to play for a while. But when he comes back, I don't know if he's going to come back next season. I'm just going to say that right now because we know this guy is not very committed. No matter what he wants to whine and complain.
You said Kyler's not coming back.
Media. I don't think Kyler's coming back next season. I don't know how serious he's going to take his rehab. Maybe that's unfair, but he doesn't take game preparation seriously. Why would I think he's going to take something coming back from an ACL seriously? That's hard. It's strenuous. Nothing, and Kyler Murray's past has shown he's willing to go the extra mile. You fire Cliff Kingsbury, and now you're expecting a head coach to walk into the situation and coach a Kyler Murray-less team in the first season. Like, it's crazy. Like, this organization is just as batshit as Houston.
Oh, I'll one-up you with that even because outside of the Kurt Warner Super Bowl run, the Cardinals are the worst organization, like maybe in the history of the NFL. Who is it? I can't remember off the top of my head here, but somebody that joined the league 25 years after the 49ers joined the league 25 years after the Cardinals, and they're like 4 wins behind them lifetime. Like, they've been bad for so long that we almost just forget how bad they've been. Cliff Kingsbury, offseason extension, gone. Steve Keim, offseason extension. Turns out gets mistaken for an offensive line coach while groping somebody in Mexico. Gone. Kyler Murray, me and you we were out here pounding the drum. Do not do this. This is the worst decision you can make. Like, whoever's walking into this is walking in. Maybe it's going to have to be a GM coaching pair. Neither one of you have the power that you want. Like, this is not like you would rather have the Texans job because you're walking into a situation that you're stuck for 5 years with at least Kyler Murray's money on the books. Maybe he's there, maybe he's not, but you're paying him. DeAndre Hopkins is going to be gone. So now you have a wide receiver core of a bunch of guys 5'4" and under, a quarterback that doesn't really seem to care, has the worst attitude in all professional sports. And I know that we sound like armchair quarterbacks. Just fucking watch the guy. Watch him when the going gets tough. Kyler Murray's he's the epitome of when your talent can take you to somewhere and you bump that wall. And then the only way to get through it over whatever's hard work. But he just said, man, why is everybody out to get me? Kyler Murray's the Ben Simmons of the NFL. Oh, and I think that's pretty good. I just like, what the hell are you supposed to do with this Arizona team? Like, who do you draft? Like, where are you at? You've wasted 2 years now of Isaiah Simmons. You've wasted 2 years of Zaven Collins. Those are pretty much your best young players on defense, and miscast, by the way. one's a hybrid safety that you're having walk down to the line of scrimmage more times than not, and the other one's an inside linebacker that you got playing off ball. Like, this is just it's a complete organizational overhaul that you have to go through, but you aren't allowed that luxury because you're already sitting on an albatross, and it's been a year.
It's crazy, man. And now you don't have a general manager. Like, you have to bring in a general manager who then brings in his coach. Baker's really good. I was like, oh, wait, he can't even consider him young. I don't know. It is an absolute mess in Arizona right now. But
who's the biggest winner in Arizona real fast? Who's the biggest winner on the team with Cliff Kingsbury gone?
Geez. I don't know, man. Like, that's like
I weirdly feel like it's Rondale Moore, even though I don't know if he'll get used at all by whoever comes in next.
They might trade his ass.
That dude having to catch us 2 screen passes a game for his first 30 games in the NFL is criminal.
That's true. That is true. Okay, rapid fire here, Tyson. I'm just going to do some updates on some of the eliminated teams, kind of things surround it, and we'll take it in a different direction or wherever we want to go. There's legitimate smoke right now that Sean McVay might step away from the Rams. He is allowing his assistants to interview elsewhere for lateral jobs, which normally
one of them is coaching in Kentucky.
He just left. Yep, going to take over the OC job there. So kind of crazy. Broncos interviewing coaches, Dan Quinn, Jim Harbaugh. They need a new coach. Las Vegas Raiders, looks like McDaniels is going to keep the job. What do they do at quarterback? That's to be seen. Falcons, similar situation, no man's land with quarterbacks. Looks like Arthur Smith's going to keep his job. Same with the New Orleans Saints. Dennis Smith, did he do enough to keep his job? It looks like it as of now. Cleveland Browns, Stefanski fired as defensive coordinator. They are hiring DC candidates. I think that's very much needed. That defense was awful considering how much talent is there. Carolina Panthers, is Steve Wilkes going to take over? Doesn't seem like the owner wants to go that direction. So they'll be interviewing candidates while also interviewing Steve Wilkes, clearly in need of a quarterback there as well. Titans fired their offensive coordinator. A lot of offensive personnel fired on that staff. Mike Vrabel looking to move on and do different, just kind of bring in different minds here. Jets. Now, Tyson's going to have a little bit for you in a bit, just a bit of information that he shared with me before here. I was kind of surprised to hear it, and I didn't see it considering I'm out here in New York. But some interesting movement potentially on that coaching staff. Packers, big news in the offseason potentially of maybe Aaron Rodgers retiring. And then finally, New England Patriots, they have to get an offensive coordinator. Like, enough of this nonsense. They have to go do it. So that's a lot of information there, Tyson. I think, anybody who's listening, if you're like, what the hell did you just say? It's out there on social media. It's out there on the internet. I just wanted to condense this. Where do you want to go and kind of discuss things to start? You want to start with the Jets and that news?
Well, first I just want to say Titans, Patriots, Packers are new additions. And the other 10 or 11 that you just listed off are the same teams and the same organizations that we talk about in these scenarios every offseason. And so if you're sitting out there and you're a fan of one of these teams and you think next year is going to be different, you're more optimistic than you should be, because these are bottom dwellers. Like every league needs them. The NFL just happens to have the same ones year over year. But yeah, the Jets news was what is it? What's the owner's name? Woody Johnson.
Woody Johnson. Yep.
Yeah. Apparently, he wants LaFleur gone as offensive coordinator. And Robert Saleh kind of dug his heels in, said, I'm not getting rid of him. He said, I want your entire offensive staff gone. So we'll see what happens there. Me and you were joking that, like, I know they're boys, but you have to, like, you got to cut the film on and be like, dude, this sucks. Like, this offense is brutal. It's just what are you supposed to do in New York if you're the Jets? Like, you're sitting here now with Zach Wilson, who you probably can't move. Like, I don't know. Josh Rosen got passed around a little bit, but that's like the only comp as far as like a quarterback that flamed out this fast. Like, you're probably sitting on Zach Wilson until the end of his fourth year, not accepting the fifth-year option, and then just hoping to recoup a comp pick or something.
Yeah.
But, like, they're screwed, man. The defense is good, and the offense is going to be what the offense is. Garrett Wilson, monster. Great rookie year. Nobody's throwing the ball. Who's the best Jets quarterback in the last decade? McCown? Fitzpatrick?
Is Sanchez in this decade? No, right?
No, but, like, that's the bar, dude. Like,
Yeah,
Mark Sanchez is the best quarterback in the last 25 years in New York. Like,
so bad.
It's Carson Wentz could go play quarterback for the Jets tomorrow and be the best person they've had at a center in a decade.
That's going to piss people off if you say that.
I'm right.
I know. That's how bad it is. That they have to trade for a quarterback. Like, enough of this shit. Like, you are bad at drafting quarterbacks, Jets. Stop. Go be aggressive in the open market. Like, I'm not a Derek Carr guy. He is immensely better than anything you've had there. Like,
it's not even close.
Like, trade for a quarterback. Enough of this shit. Seriously.
Dude, one thing I did want to talk to you about for the offseason, I guess I'm coming in super bold today, but I think Lamar Jackson might be playing football for the Atlanta Falcons.
Whoa.
I have no reasoning. I just have a gut feeling that I think Arthur Smith is like, dude, Desmond Ridder sucks. Like, it wasn't a huge investment. It was a third-round pick. We saw what we had. I didn't like it. And all the smoke from Baltimore, the last couple of weeks, they haven't been super pumped with Lamar, which is understandable from their perspective because he's not playing because he's hurt, and we don't know the severity, so I'm not going to speculate. But then from Lamar's perspective, it's like, dude, I'm hurt. You guys didn't pay me. I'm not going to go out there, risk the Deshaun Watson contract, which is what I'm sure he's going to be asking for. And they just re-signed Roquan Smith to $46 million guaranteed, $100 million over the life of the contract if he hits all those things.
Yep.
You're going to pay a middle linebacker $100 million? Like, Roquan's a beast, but this is a great way to end up in cap hell. And if you don't think Lamar's the answer, are you going to give Lamar Jackson that money to hamstring you for the next 5 to 7 years? Like, I think that option one is franchise tag. And I don't know if they're going to want to pay him $35 million a year or whatever that's going to work out to, as far as it'll limit their mobility this offseason pretty significantly. And then option two, I think over contract extension is the QO tag, the qualifying tag, which other teams can sign your player. It just costs 2 first-round picks. And that's not the amount that Russell Wilson got a year, or the Seahawks got for Russell Wilson a year ago, or the Matt Stafford trade, stuff like that. But the way those things have aged, I think that it's going to be a lot shallower of a market as far as what the Ravens are actually after. And I think that if I'm Arthur Smith, dude, I'm like, man, I know the defense sucks, but like, we're not going anywhere till we get a quarterback. Tom Brady's out the South. The Saints are in disarray. The Panthers are going to stay the Panthers. We need to, like, I got to make this thing my bitch. Like, I don't know how much longer my leash is. Like, we haven't been as good as people have probably wanted us to be over the last couple of years. We invest the 4th overall pick in the draft in Kyle Pitts. We invest the 8th overall pick in Drake London. Now what?
I think that's an attractive location for Lamar, too, because like you said, who does he like to throw to in Baltimore? Mark Andrews. Whoa, who do the Falcons have? Kyle Pitts, super talented. Drake London's going to be the best receiver Lamar's ever played with. And then it's not like they don't have good running backs. Tyler Allgeier's a beast. Cordell Patterson's awesome. Like, and Arthur Smith designed all that offense for Ryan Tannehill, who's not even close to as talented as Lamar Jackson. If he goes to Atlanta, that's a good. I'll say this: that's an interesting offense. Probably a good offense. Interesting team because I don't know how good that defense is going to be, like you said.
Oh, they
but
suck.
Man, that's great. Like, and you got to think though too. Arthur Blank, he's not one of these cheap ass owners. Like he goes out and spends if he has to, and he likes to be aggressive. Like he wants to win. Man, oh man! Imagine bringing Lamar Jackson down to Atlanta, getting like Vic like 25 years later. That'd be so cool for that city.
The other part of it is like if you do it early enough, and you can get Lamar done before Philly does Hurts, before Burrow gets done by Cincinnati, before Herbert gets done by LA, then maybe you're not sitting on this giant thing and just kind of hoping. And that I think will kind of play into it. The only other landing spot that I like really want to see for Lamar, and it's just a selfish one, but like, dude, if this guy went to the Dolphins and they had a fucking track team, that would be so awesome to watch. They might not win many games, but it would be like, holy smokes, these guys are fast.
That would be crazy. I'll throw one out to you. I mean, I don't know if this is too off the wall, but Brady, the Raiders, like it just makes a ton of sense right now. And I know like Brady's thinking about retiring. That's what people close to him are saying. That makes no sense to me. Like, why would he come out of retirement?
Why would you get divorced to play a year?
Yeah, that makes no sense. Like, and maybe he wasn't happy in the marriage already with Giselle.
Right, all that stuff. Like, it's just like
whatever.
We don't know, so we're gonna say this part, but like whatever the hell was going on, like you think that if football was a central piece of it, as we were led to believe, that he would go away for 20 weeks and then be like, well, that's over.
Yeah, like now, yeah. Well, thanks, guys. I just divorced my family and or divorced my wife, and now I'm done.
We won 8 games.
Like, right? That doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense. So, here's why I think Raiders could be an option. Now, he was already flirting with Las Vegas before. Like that was on his list. He was interested. This Raiders team has much more talent than the previous Raiders team he was interested in going to, especially now they have Devontae Adams. That's an elite receiver. I think Darren Waller's probably gone, but Hunter Renfrow, classic slot guy that Brady would like. Who's their head coach? Josh McDaniels. Brady loves Josh McDaniels. And so that's just a clear cut. Like if Brady's going to leave Tampa, which all signs points to he will, this seems to be a perfect spot for him unless the Niners flame out and then they go out and Brady finally comes home to the 49ers. But I just can't see that happening. I think he's going to go to Las Vegas.
I would be interested to see. I mean, the second part is so like in the weeds, but like if the Niners do flame out, like what the hell are they going to do with Trey Lance, man? Like
you have to play him
in a row. You're scoring 35 points a game with Mr. Irrelevant. Like it just you better find somebody else that really liked him in that draft class because
I guess
it's going to get weird.
Anything else you want to touch on here, Tyson? We're coming up on 30 minutes here.
Well. Colts are the Colts.
Yeah.
The most overrated front office group in the history of professional sports.
Oh, my God, dude. Did you see his press conference, by the way?
Did you see whoever fucking tweeted it was like, it's weird that it's Grigson, right? Ryan Grigson?
The ex-GM. Ballard's
now. Yeah, Chris Ballard. I apologize. Yeah. They're the same guy. But Chris Ballard is the quote-unquote adult in the room. And it's like, this is the adult in the room. Find a new room. Like, this sucks. Smokes. Because if they have to hire Jeff Saturday, the only other person that they could even get would be Jim Harbaugh because of like what he want. Like he played there. Harbaugh seems like a super loyal guy. Personally, I want to watch Harbaugh coach Russell Wilson because I think it'd be so fucking weird that it would be pretty fun to watch. Like those two just sitting in a banquet hall in a hotel, like not talking while they eat their. It'd be amazing. It would be so awesome, and it would blow up so fast, dude. They'd be at each other's throats by week 2. It would be awesome.
Nah, dude, Russ is too positive.
Yeah, no, Mr. Unlimited, he'll be back. Right? He's got Wolverine blood and all that. I think Harbaugh punches him in the face, dude, before the end of the preseason. I think he beats his ass. I think Harbaugh would just be like, all right, we're fucking doing this, dude. Like,
it's like hockey that's dropping the gloves early.
Like, that's all that would happen. But Indianapolis is the most screwed, I think, of all these teams. And we said it when they went out and got Phillip Rivers. It was like, okay. This is the move to put you over the top. And then they did it again with Carson Wentz. And it was the same thing. It was like, are you serious right now? And then they decided, you know what? Those two things didn't work. We should go get Matt Ryan.
Ooh.
And then that doesn't work. And then now, like, Michael Pittman Jr.'s contract is going to be up. And you're going to have to pay him. Or don't, like, at your own risk. But, like, they're in big trouble. The offensive line that everyone anointed as the next best great unit in the NFL, average to below average. Not a good year. Quentin Nelson walking into the Hall of Fame. right away, right? This is a surefire Hall of Famer in the draft. Average to below average for the last little. It's like, you guys are screwed, man. You got linebackers switching names, like Darius to Shaquille. Like, that was the coolest thing to happen in Indianapolis this year. They're bad.
I feel reminiscent. I missed this for some. I don't know why the Bucs were listed above the eliminated or below the eliminated teams, but Commanders, Steelers, Lions. So Lions, we'll see what they do. Ben Johnson may be a hot name, the offensive coordinator for the Lions. I think it's too soon for him. Me personally.
Let the Lions at least go above 500 for a year before you start.
Hey, they're 9-8. They're 9-8.
That's what I'm saying. You got to give them a year. You can't be. By the way, bro, Aaron Glenn's at the top of these lists.
Hey, you get a ton of points scored on you. That's what you get apparently.
Yeah, I know he's really good from weeks 9 to 13. That defense was pretty good. It's like, are you serious?
Steelers 9-8. Nothing too much scuttlebutt going on in Pittsburgh. There never is. It's Mike Tomlin, man. He's rights that ship, and that the Commanders 8-1. Rivera seems to have kept his job because they fired offensive coordinator Scott Turner. Rivera feels like he needs to move in a different direction on the offense. So, just some updates there.
And I will just one quick thought here, and it might be a little, I don't know, off color or whatever, but over under how many times Jim Caldwell get interviewed this offseason, teams can meet the Rooney Rule without looking like they're trying to break the rules.
No, I feel bad for Jim Caldwell. He should be a head coach in this league.
I know, but like he's the one that they all just pick. Like they're like, well, we have to interview a minority. Let's just call Jim. Like, he's not doing anything. Right? And it sucks because, like, the Lions were good with Jim Caldwell, or good for the Lions, and then everyone else is like, I'm not touching that guy.
Yeah,
like, he'd be the best coach, best coach in Texans history.
Oh, Jesus Christ! Like, yeah, get him a job, man. Like, he deserves a job at some point. Like, he's a good coach. Like,
I know.
I don't know how
he's just relegated to a sideshow because he is, like, I don't know, man. Like, something's going to happen with the Rooney Rule. Something's going to happen with tanking. Like, there are going to be some other things that happen this offseason. But unfortunately for him, that's just the position he's found himself in. It's such a bummer because, like, it wasn't pretty, but it was fun.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Okay, that's going to do it for this quick episode. Just discussing kind of the eliminated teams that we have here. Tyson and I are going to have a ton more content in the offseason. Like, we'll be discussing teams in detail, what they need to do, where they should look at players, what we would do if we're in charge, just different things of that sort. Also, NFL draft coverage. We're going to start the work now. We already are excited to dive into Bryce Young and CJ Stroud. If you couldn't tell already, like,
we might as well rename the podcast the Bijan Robinson podcast for the next 6 months because that's all I'm talking about.
You're gonna, you want him to be drafted number 1 overall.
That's my point, man.
We will actually, Tyson. We need to do a betting recap show at some point too, as the regular season's over. But for all of our other betting stuff, tell them where they can find our content.
It is in the Chalkboard app. You can find it in the App Store or Google Play. Group name in there is the Roundtable. It's Brad and I giving our picks on pretty much anything you could think of outside of table tennis and darts, man. We're in there. College football, college basketball, NFL, obviously, NBA. We don't do much hockey, but it's in there. MMA fights, and that's something that's going to kind of ramp up here as we get to the end of the month and UFC cards start rolling. But we'll be in there posting picks. Last night, Brad, for some reason, was huge on TCU, and that didn't work out very well for him at all.
No.
No, that'd be me. So yeah, I mean, it's the Chalkboard app, group name the Roundtable, and we're just basically trying to make money. So if you want to make it with us, go ahead. If you want to fade us, do it.
In the meantime, we'll be back with our early look ahead preview for Super Wildcard Weekend. We will talk to you guys then. Peace.